start today's show with the news that broke today that shocked the world of football. Nobody saw it coming. There was no indication this was going to happen. Mauricio Pochettino is the new coach at Chelsea. Goodness me, it's dragged on, hasn't it? But in the end, the deal was done. Just a reminder, this is a man who started his career in La Liga, coaching at Espanyol, then to Southampton, to Spurs, where he led them to the Champions League final, and then a season at PSG as well. This is what the Chelsea owners had to say about the appointment. The sporting team conducted a diligent and thoughtful process that the board is proud of. We are delighted that Mauricio will be joining Chelsea. Mauricio is a world-class coach with an outstanding track record. We are all looking forward to having him on board. Let's welcome more of this, shall we? Jan Arga-Fjortov joins us, as does former Chelsea defender Mario Malchiot. Mario, let's start with you. Are you happy?
I'm happy that at least something is going to happen. So I hope that something's going to happen because, oh my God, man. Look, when things like this happen, I don't want to jump too high yet because I think it's a big change that he's going to have to fight against. Everybody said that. You know what the funny part was of this whole story is what Frank Lampard said himself. He smiled about it and he said, the problem is not going to be mine anymore because it's going to be the next manager. So what I hope that Pochettino can bring his identity to the club, because at this moment, Chelsea has no identity in playing football.
Yeah, and in theory, a new coach comes in and obviously he looks at the players he wants to keep and the ones he wants to transfer, and then looks at the players that he wants to bring in from other clubs. But there are so many players at this club. He is in big trouble already, isn't he?
Well, first of all, we have to congratulate Chelsea Football Club with a great signing. I mean, that is a long time since we could do that. That is point number one. Pochettino is a good coach for them in terms of he's a club builder. And I think now, Dan, before we start talking about players and what he said with identity and everything, they got a lot of players there, but they got also a lot of potential in that club. We saw at Aston Villa. I will use that as an example. We've talked a lot about what Emery has done for Aston Villa. I think that Pochettino can, in short term, get a team out of these boys because there are so many great boys in there. The problem is they paid so much for them that people think they are world class, and they are not. So, but Pochettino has shown before that he can put together a good team. But now, as been said, they have to develop a team, and then the trophies and all the ambition of winning trophy, that will be a consequence of that. Chelsea need to be Chelsea Football Club again. It can't just be a bunch of overpaid, too high profiles, too high transfer kind of guys running around at Stamford Bridge.
What's his priority got to be, Shane? Day one.
Getting a squad that he's happy to work with. And listen, I feel almost obligated to be very positive about Pochettino's appointment. I'm going to join Jan in that because our former Chelsea player could only muster, well, at least we've done something as the only positive take from this. So I feel as though, listen, I think Mauricio Pochettino has shown how good a manager he is, particularly in English football. He's a club builder, and he showed that with Spurs. He's taking over a Chelsea team that, certainly in terms of league table and in position and what was needed, not too dissimilar from Chelsea right now. The difference with Chelsea, and this Chelsea and any other team I certainly can think of in world football, is the size of the squad and how you trim that. And while you have players like Mason Mount with just a year left on his contract, Kovacic similarly, you have players with 7 and 8 years left. And if you're Mauricio Pochettino, it's about finding that balancing act. It's about trimming the squad, but doing so in a way that brings in some money, because financial fair play will come into the offing at some point, sooner or later. And figuring out exactly who's his best 11. Where do you start in building for the future? And that's when your squad is this big. That's not easy. How, again, you have players like Mount who you figure would any manager would be happy to at least work with, but he seems to be set on having playing his football elsewhere. You have Romelu Lukaku, who's on loan at Inter Milan, and he's saying that, or suggestions are that he's happy to move on. And then what, 30 others in West London that you're still not sure whether they fit your style, what their positions are, both in the short and the long term. And you have to do all this in what, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, in preparation for a new season where you have to qualify. I don't see how Chelsea failed to qualify for the Champions League 2 seasons running, given some of their expenditure.
We've seen some feisty encounters, haven't we, when Poch was in charge of Spurs, when they were taking on Chelsea, Battle of the Bridge, etc., Mario. How much does that kind of cast a shadow slightly on the appointment?
Of course, it's going to be a sensitive moment. I think for the people that support, of course, Chelsea, I hope they know, but the ones that don't, there's a big rivalry between the two teams. And that's why him coming to Chelsea is going to be a sensitive atmosphere, especially in the beginning. And I think, look, he has enough experience, so I don't see him having any problems with that, because I think, as a coach, like the guys already mentioned, I've seen him work. I've seen him, his teams, how he builds his teams, and what he did with Spurs when he was manager of them. But the only thing is that it's very difficult to get the team running straight away. Why? Because I hope he's going to be focusing a lot, and I already heard that he was already watching a lot of the games before he's going to take the job anyway. So while the games were still going on, of course, this weekend was the last one. But then further down the line, it's also going to be very, very important for him to quickly get the fans behind him, because it can be very sensitive. When you play in a Chelsea stadium and you don't perform like you have to, then they can really turn on you quickly. And when that goes against you, you saw what they tried to do when they brought in Lampard, because you could see what happened to Potter, because he couldn't turn the tables anymore.
Jan, have they got any money to spend in the summer?
Good question. Well, they have to sell someone. They was talking about financial fair play. I think that is a part of it. I think that don't underestimate Pochettino. He has also done a due diligence on Chelsea. He knows what he has to play with. He has the players he has available. I guess the discussion, maybe that has been a bit delayed, is that who's going out, who's coming in. But Bowley and the rest of the venture bodies, they have kind of pick them out as you do before you go to a movie. You get some candies in. There's been no plan. You don't understand that. But Pochettino, he will have his core of players that he will want to use. The problem is with Chelsea Football Club is when we see the position on the table. First of all, it's a fantastic time for Pochettino to come in, because he can only get better. It's not possible that Chelsea can be worse. I mean, that is not possible. And point number 2, there is only one way to win over the crowd. That is to win football games. That is the only thing you can do. If you see Chelsea this season, they've had 3 different coaches, and they're all different. You have Tuchel, who was a tough German coach that was kind of brutal in his way of demand things. Then you have Potter, who tried this school teacher kind of project that he did in Brighton, and then you're ending up with Frank Lampard. And to be fair to Frank Lampard, as I loved him as a player, as I love him as a person, I mean, what he's done at Chelsea, this 9 games, it can't be worse either. It's not possible. Dan, you could have been there. You would have done exactly the same as Frank, maybe better. So it's not possible. So it's the best timing ever for Pochettino to come in. He will wish he can go in church and pray. The timing is perfect.
So, having said that, Mario, what is a successful season next year for Chelsea under Pochettino?
Yeah, I went
Better
to
than
Chelsea
12?
No, but definitely. I mean, I can give you that answer. But I went to Chelsea when they weren't in the Champions League, and I think I went to around the world. You understand, to the clubs that I played at before. I went to Ajax, I went to Chelsea. So clubs are always focused on trying to implement their building on towards more success, on being part of the elite. Okay, the only part to be of the elite, you either have to win the league or be part of the Champions League. So the only aim for him right now, look, people will say, yeah, he's got to go and win the league and then we got to open. No, I don't know. That's not what I'm. For me, the aim should be for him, try to get your team towards the Champions League. That is what you understand. It's a big task to ask, but it's also because his skill, his understanding, and his preparation, and I expect him to do all those parts and bring all those parts to the table. And then I think we should focus on trying to get in the Champions League, because that is the biggest aim for him. And I know, you understand, people might say like, hey, guys, it's very difficult, but I don't think it's difficult. That's what he should be aiming for.
But if I may say that, it's quite interesting now. In every other venture or business project, you have to have a process. There is no way that we can expect Pochettino take a middle-of-the-road Chelsea. I think it was 12th now in the league, and they should, if you saw the form they have in the last third of the season, they could be relegated. Is no chance. Yes, we can say Chelsea always got to be in the Champions League. Chelsea always got to aim for the Chelsea for the Champions League. But the most important thing for Pochettino now is to make a football team. Is to make, like Mario was saying about the identity, develop the players, turn them into great football players, and not only great on the sheet of paper where the transfer fee is. And then the result of that, or the consequences of that, is the results. I think that every Chelsea fan, I said on Twitter, yeah, he has to create a team. No, we have to go to the Champions League. No, that's not how it works. We can do it in a populistic way, but to sit here now, the 29th of May, and expect Chelsea to be in Champions League because Pochettino come in, dream on.
What do you do about Lukaku, Mario?
Lukaku is like, look, Chelsea have to look for a striker. That is not a secret. I mean, like, what is it, months ago I was there. I was in England, what is it, a couple of days ago. So you understand, I felt the atmosphere, I hear how people think about it. When you look at it, Lukaku, it's either two things. Look, he's going to the final of the Champions League, so that's one. You understand? He's either, this is something that every individual wants to win. So I get that. Okay, he's there. If he wins it, he comes back. Pochettino wants to talk to him. He wants to talk to him. There's only one reason why he wants to talk to him. I need a striker. Are you willing to do the extra parts for me that I'm looking for? And if it doesn't have a fit, then we might have to part ways. And that is going to be the best conversation for both teams. I think for Lukaku to tell him his aspirations and where he wants to be. And for Pochettino, he's coming to a new club and he needs a striker. He comes from a team where, let's say if we highlight England, where he had Harry Kane that scored so many goals for him. He had that great combination that he built because Son and Kane started with him. But away from that, he needs a good striker because Chelsea has no striker. How can you be a team? And then it's also what it's like, how can you be a team and don't have a striker in your team that at least can back you 20 goals as a normality? And that is what Lukaku has to aim for. If he can deliver that, I don't see any problem, but they need a striker. That's guaranteed.
The thing for me, I think that Lukaku finds himself in a position not too dissimilar from Mauricio Pochettino, in all honesty. Jan made the point that football games is the only thing that matters, is the only thing that truly wins over a fan base. And listen, and Mario can speak to the depth of feelings between Chelsea and their fans, more to the point, and Spurs or former Spurs managers in this case. But Pochettino comes in with a much shorter honeymoon period than any other manager, given his links with Spurs. And again, to Jan's point, the only thing that wins that over is results. I think it's the same for Romelu Lukaku, given how quickly things unraveled last